Okay, let's start the info part for today's stream, which is about Gvg. To be specific, I'm gonna go through a lot of questions which were asked the past few weeks about how to apply, how to check if a Gvg is arena rule based or pure gear based, and then I'm gonna also go through the Gvg currencies and the guild interface, which is also related to Gvg. So let's first start with the Gvg table. As you can see, you have here two different categories, the Gve category and the Gvg categories. You can actually pick only one Gve and one Gvg per week. You can claim it or like mark it, and only for those two you can actually take part and win or get the reward at the end of the week or once the server resets at Wednesday. So the first question which was frequently asked was about when should I apply? The best way to do it, or the safest way to do it, once the server resets, you should apply for one Gve and one Gvg. Make sure that you talk with your guildmates first and ask them who will be available for Gve, when, and same go for Gvg. And depending on how many people are available, you can pick Gves and Gvgs for different size. For example, this one is a Salt Giant Gve, which is for 1 to 4 people. The one which I did with my guild is for 1 to 30 people. And for Gvgs, you have also similar stuff which are with different amount of people needed. So here it's 4 to 8, which means you have to have at least 4 people in the battlefield. If you have only 3 people who joins the Gvg once it starts, it will be already lost, or the enemy team gonna win. And if there's like 1 to 4, there needs to be only one guy in the battlefield, and it's gonna start. Now, the next question was, how can you see if it is gear balance or arena rule or not? So to make it short, you can check if you click on participate, cannot change battle item, which means battle items are allowed. As long as battle items are allowed, that means Gvg or Gve is based on gear. If battle items are not allowed, it is it's based on it will be kind of like arena rule. Everyone will be scaled down to the item level which is required here, 350. Now moving on, you can see if you click on a Gvg or Gve, if you go to the info, you can see, for example, on Gvg, which are the most frequently used items or battle items or suggested battle items. If you have no clue which items you should use, you can check it, and that will help you a lot. And on Gvg battlefields, you have 2 of those. One is also for battle items, and the other one is how the battlefield will look like. So we have 2 different battlefields for 8 players. For example, this one is a 2-lane battlefield where each team has to defend 2 objectives and attack enemy or capture 2 enemy objectives. Then we also have this this one, which is a 1-lane, which is all about clash and less coordination needed. But depending on what you prefer with your guild, you can pick one Gvg. There is another condition which you need to check, which is the time. So not all the Gvgs will start at the same time. Some Gvgs are Fridays, 8:30 p.m. and other Gvgs are on Sundays, 8:30 p.m. So check that. First, check when your guild will be, or most of your members will be available. So if they are available on Friday, go for a Friday one. And then on Sunday, go for a Sunday one. And depending on how many are available, you should pick either 2 to 4 players or 4 to 8 players. You can of course go for the bigger Gvgs, but currently no one can apply for it. The reason for it is you need at least, as a guild, 1301 rating to apply for this Gvg or to take part on this Gvg battle. And you can get the rating by winning Gvg battles. As you can see, we won all our matches. And if you go to more ranking, our current ranking is 1269. So we still won't be able to apply after the reset today to the bigger battlefields. But in 2 weeks, we should be able to apply for the bigger battlefields. Now let's check the rewards. The yellow stones, I will explain that later once we go through the guild interface. This is the experience you will gain depending on which rank you are. And this is the buff which the first place will get, which will work for everything PvE wise except for GVG, which is, for example, if you get the first place on this territory, your entire guild will have 5% attack power increased. There are different buffs, especially on GVEs. For example, the 31 which we went for is like attack speed increased by 3% for the first place, and also gives more yellow stones. But the XP is the same for this, like the 16 one, but the buff is different. This one gonna give the first place guy cooldown reduction of 6%. So there are a lot of stuff to check, depending on, once again, guild situation, activity, and when the most people are online. Pick the right one for you. Last but not least, there is one big difference between GVG and GVE. Even if I claimed this one for our GVG for this week, or GVE for this week, we already did it. Our best time was 5 minutes 7, and we can redo it with, like, there is no specific time to do it. You can check always your guild members' activity. If there are a lot of people online, you can ask them, let's try it. And you can try it as often as you want before the reset. And the best time will count. We can also join as a guild every other GVE, even if it's not the claimed one. If I click here, the entire guild will get a notification and they can join. But even if you get the best time, it won't count. It will only count for the one which we registered. And to register, you have to click, of course, participate and on this button. But we already have claimed it. Now, that's about the table. Let's go through the Gvg interface or guild interface. Most of the stuff are self-explanatory, are easy to understand, but I will still go through the mandatory things here. You have the level, the XP, and then you have the stones, which is the main currency, which you need to research and so on. We'll go through that later. And you can also get separate stones. So this is the guild bank, so you can't take it for yourself, but you will also earn later stones which you can exchange at this NPC. Down here you can see the weekly gold and current contribution ratio. This is how much contribution I have in my guild currently, and this is what the weekly goal is. I will explain that later in contribution. So the important thing is you have an overview here. You can see on the right side which research are currently going on, which GVE we picked. So I can also enter directly here and everyone in the guild will get a message, and when the next fight for the GVG which we picked is. Let's move on to the next part, which is the composition. This one is pretty easy. You already know about that one. This is pretty similar to the old member list when they were online last time and where they are and so on. Skills. This is something new. But first, let's go for research, because to get the skills, you need to research. Currently, I am already researching a new skill or a new passive, and similar to that, I picked those two, and it needed to be researched. And once it was done, I can actually pick here, if it's an active skill, which skills I want to use for GVEs and GVGs. Those are the two mods here. And to use the skill, you need mana crystals. If you hover over with your mouse here, you can see to activate this skill, I need 200 mana crystals, and it's gonna give a 20% attack buff for 6 seconds, and the cooldown time is 16 seconds. And important is only the guild master can activate those skills during GVG or GVE. To get mana crystals, of course, you have to convert the red stones from the guild bank. And again, only guild master can do that, into mana crystals. So don't spam it too much, because those red stones are really important, especially because it's one of the requirements to apply for GVGs. If you want to participate, you have to pay a certain amount of red stones. I'm gonna just call those stones. And for the higher fields, you have to pay more of those stones. So don't waste those. Now, once you have applied those, once you join GVE and GVG, you can activate it. And as long as you have mana crystals, once the cooldown is once the skill is available again, you can reactivate it again and again and again. But not recommended to abuse it or to waste mana crystals. Research, once again, you can pick, and I'm currently researching something which will enable a second research, so we can research two things at the same times. Now let's talk about contribution. For that, I'm going to go to hotkey. You can see here the current contribution of all members for this week. It will reset once the server resets and once we get the rewards for our GVG and GVE placement. As a guild master, you can set the goal for the entire guild. So I said 450 is the minimum contribution everyone should have to get rewards. 350, 450 is the requirement. I can also go to game settings. You can see 450 is the requirement I set. And everyone who reaches the 450, you can of course go have higher, will get 50% of the yellow stones as a reward. Like it will be split. Let's say you have 10 members and you have like 100k yellow stones, which you will get if we from the GVG and GVE rankings, as I showed you earlier. And if you have 100k at the end of the week, and when the server resets, everyone who reached the minimum goal set by the guild master will get like 100k, 50% will be 50k, and the 50k will be split between all the members who reached the minimum goal. And the rest of the stuff, your yellow stones, will be sent into guild bank, which is here. So that's how you do it. I would recommend every guild to have enough stones to get mana crystals and to apply for next GVG and to make research, because research also going to consume those stones. And apart from that, distribute it towards your guild members and pick the right minimum contribution depending on the activity. I could go higher based on, like you can see a lot of guys have more than 600, but that's because participating in GVG, in every GVG battle, will give you contribution points, and clearing once per week, like you can only get it once per week for GVEs. So your first time clear in the guild of a GVE battle will give you also contributions. Some of the members couldn't participate on all GVGs. That's why I shouldn't take the highest guy as an example. Now, how to get contribution points? Easy. Every day, once you log in, click on participation and then click on cheering. This will give your guild XP and some redstones, but it will also give you the tradable currency and contribution points. Those are the contribution points. This one will needs you to spend 6k shilling, and this one is for 100 gold. So those are the two things you should need to do every day once you log in. This mark is, to be honest, I didn't use it at all, but you can only get it from Marie's shop, cash shop, and it's only up from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Or was it? Yeah, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on server time. So that's pretty weird time, but it's not even necessary to have it. Sure, it will give you or boost the guild a little bit, but it's not mandatory. Another thing is, of course, you can click on once the research is going on to support, and every day you can also click on contribute and OK, and it will also give you contribution points. And as I mentioned, of course, take part on GVGs and GVE will give you contribution points. Okay, now just a few last things. We have go back to hotkey. We have set people who apply to the guild. You can see that here. Hot time event. This is like hot time ever. It's a bad translation. You can see what you will unlock once your guild reaches higher level. With research you will be able to research, and so on. Rating, you can see the current ranking in the entire server based on rating points and how many people are in the guild and which level the guilds are. So it's a nice tool to check the current situation. And magazine is kind of like a log where you can check if anyone spent something, if anyone took something, and so on. Now, the last part, we are finally at the end, guys, is about the currency which I was talking about, you know, if you reach the minimum goal and get like 50% split between all the guys who got the goal, they're going to get a currency which is this one. You can exchange it for quite a lot of useful stuff. So as you can see, I didn't spend it on affinity related items. I bought this bag here. You will get random engravings. This one is for normal engravings, and this one is life skill related engravings. So I bought it 8 times and I can't buy it anymore, so I have to wait for the reset. Another good thing to buy is Acrasium 1 boxes. You can buy 7 of those, or Acrasium 2 boxes. You can also buy 7 of those. You can also exchange those crystals for weekly rate tickets, useless for currently shitty weekly rates. I mean, they're so easy. You should have already a bunch of weekly rate tickets stacked up. Pirate coins and runes. That's it actually. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the YouTube comments later or now in the Twitch stream.